CDD database such as the MANSA will certainly promote access to information for due diligence purposes on the continent. It will play a significant role in promoting good governance, transparency, and accountability by African entities. In making finance work for Africa, we have identified the need to strengthen AML, CFT, and CFP compliance systems and practices in African jurisdiction to combat financial crime and enhance the integrity of our financial sector. Saying that, promoting initiatives such as the MANSA transfer is therefore considered integral to our program. And we are really eager to forge partnerships that can really support this paramount objective. Before we delve into the topic of today, I will briefly share with you some practical information about the webinar. Next slide, please. As you can see on the screen, this is the outline of our session of today. After the welcome remarks, we have the housekeeping information. We'll introduce quickly making finance work for Africa, and then we have our presentation and the core subject of today, which is the MANSA platform, the Africa Customer Due Diligence Platform, Passport for Trade and Investment. And then we'll have a panel discussions and then closing remark by the moderator and the representative of Making Finance for Africa. In terms of housekeeping information, what we could say that the session of today will last about 75 minutes, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes, including the Q&A. And to ensure a good quality of this webinar, all participants will be muted. The questions can be submitted via the Q&A box that appear below your screen. You will see is the Q&A. So please use it to submit your questions to the panelists. And you can submit them at any time. The slide and the recording of this session will also be circulated to the attendees and registrants at the end of the webinar, within maybe 72 hours, because it sometimes takes time to get the recording. It will also be available on our website, Making Finance Work for Africa. You can send also any message to the organizer at any time, and then there is a survey that we play at the end of this session so that you can give your own feelings of how things have unfolded. Next slide. Just quick highlight on Making Finance Work for Africa. This webinar is part of what we call our webinar series, which really aim to promote information on topical issues related to the financial sector development on the continent. Making Finance is actually a unique platform and a critical resource to government, financial industry, and development partners to build more efficient, stable, and inclusive financial system that can drive sustainable growth and resilience economy. It is hosted by the African Development Bank, and our secretary is in Abidjan. And we do a lot of work around knowledge management, donor coordinations, advocacy, and so on. It's actually a platform for knowledge exchange, cooperation, networking among financial sector stakeholders. We are also active in other areas than like the long-term finance, financial stability and governance, and this is part of it. And also financial inclusion. These are areas that are very critical to us, and we are also embarking on the area like more alternative finance solutions that can really support development financial sector on the continent. On that, I will now invite Mrs. Maureen Ba, who is the head of the MANSA team, to give her own opening remark. Maureen, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, distinguished personalities. It's good to have you all on this important call. And also talking about this great initiative, which is the MANSA initiative being hosted by the African Export-Import Bank. We are headquartered in Cairo, and we are from your great institution, which is the African Export-Import Bank, who are working with the Making Finance Work for Africa, which is an arm of the African Development Bank, and who will see as our parent bank. Before I go on, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I, and distinguished panelists, may I bring you good greetings from the president of our bank, Professor B.O. Orama, who is also the chairman of the board of directors. I will begin by quoting a writer, C.J. Cherry, who stated that trade isn't about goods. Trade is about information. Goods sit in the warehouse until information moves them. I close my quote. Within the African continent and globally, the dialogue on the importance of innovations to enhance access to trade information is gaining traction. According to the 2017 report, following the 5th annual study on trade finance gaps, growth, and jobs survey by the Asian Development Bank, the global trade finance gap was estimated at 1.5 trillion in 2016. 74% of the trade finance gap was accounted by small and medium scale enterprises and medium capital companies. Emerging markets, which included African markets, account for between 360 million and 44 million of the world's trade, of the world's 420 million to 510 million micro, small, and medium enterprises. It is therefore in the African continent's best interest to close this trade finance gap. One of the main challenges to African trade, African finance has been the lack of information on trading counterparties, particularly within African continent, and the incremental costs of compliance to know your customer requirements, which has led to the de-risking and withdrawal of correspondent banking relationships. This has subsequently led to an increase in the cost of trade finance. In this regard, your bank, the African Export-Import Bank, has embarked on this important initiative 7 years ago, following a communique issued by along the sidelines of the maiden Afreximbank Annual Customer Due Diligence and Corporate Governance Forum held in Dakar, Senegal in October 2014. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I inform you that the MANSA repository platform derives its name from the Mansa Musa, the king of the Malian emperor, the king of the Malian kingdom. Mansa Musa was the pioneer of trade in Africa and placed the African continent on the world map through trade and by revealing the continent's riches. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I know this is a short remark, but again, my colleague Pab Dieye will talk you through the details of making of the MANSA repository platform during his presentation. The MANSA repository platform aims to promote trade in Africa by providing a centralized source of know your customer information on African entities and will facilitate the conduct of due diligence checks on African counterparties in accordance to international best practices. The repository is based on 3
It looks like we have lost Maureen. Yes, it looks like we have lost Maureen. If that is the case, I think we will pass the floor, give the floor to the moderator of today, Mr. Roland Oro. Moderator, he is the founder and CEO of Roslam Group. So Roland, you have the floor now.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. Can I get a confirmation if you can hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well.
Okay, great. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roland Oletu Oro, the founder and CEO of Rosland Group. I'm sitting right here. I'm speaking from Abuja, Nigeria. I want to welcome our panelists, the participants, and everyone to this session today. So while probably be waiting for Madam Maureen to come back, I don't know, Pap, you want to make a presentation now, or you want to do it later?
Yes, I can continue. So.
Okay, so I think let me hand over to you to make your presentation, and after that, we'll go into the panel session in detail.
Thank you. So are we going to, am I going to share my screen, or the presentation will be displayed by Stefan?
Yes, Stefan will display.
Yes,
So
I
next slide.
Just say next, and then I'll pass the slide.
All right, okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Roland, for giving me the floor. Thank you to all our valued panelists and participants. I'm very pleased to present MANSA at this valued audience. Mrs. Maureen spoke about the main challenges of African trade and the important initiative led by Afreximbank to tackle these challenges. I will go straight to present the main feature of MANSA and give you a global overview on what MANSA does and what MANSA is. Okay, Stefan, I think you can go to the next slide, please, because Maureen has already. Okay, you can stay here. So hello, yes. So what MANSA aim to do is to respond to the million-dollar questions. Where do you come from? Are you worth my time? Can I trust you? Are you credit worthy? What business are you doing? And can I risk being associated? So being in MANSA and checking CDD report on MANSA will help you to respond to these questions. Next, please, Stefan. Next. This is the main outline of my presentation, but I will go straight to the main MANSA features, as Mrs. Maureen has already spoken about the context and the main trade challenge we are having in Africa. So I will go directly, Stefan. Yes, next, please. Next. Because this is mainly for Afreximbank. Next. Yes, here, please. Okay, next. So the global trend in money laundering. So as you know, and as Maureen was stating, global financial flows have grown rapidly over the 15 years. Okay, and this development have also been accompanied by a rise in financial crimes. So in terms of customer due diligence, the result has been a call for action by major financial sector, followed by the introduction and enforcement of various regulations. And despite the existing of global KYC repositories that you certainly know, Bank Almanac, Swift Registry, considering to ease process, they remain very costly for the use of customer due diligence. And these have significant impact on African businesses. Next, Stefan. Okay. Next, Stefan, because Maureen has spoken on this. So maybe just quickly, the main challenges to just insist on the high cost of subscription to existing CDD platform, but also the need to eliminate perceived risk of trading with African entities. As you may know, doing trade business between us is complex, since we do not have sufficient and adequate information among African entities and towards our counterparts. So today, the lack of adequate information on African entities in existing customer due diligence repository in Africa is a big challenge that MANSA is aiming to tackle. Next, Stefan. Okay. So mainly for African financial institutions, the rising of compliance costs combined with an inadequate collateral have created the perception that, in fact, trade finance operations are both risky and costly in Africa. For African corporates, we are facing issues like poor documentation and lack of credit data, unmanageable collateral requirements. And for SMEs, the main challenges is most of the 15 to 20 of the decline in trade during the 2007 and 2007 and 2008 financial crisis was estimated to have been accounted by credit shock related to working capital and trade finance. And in many cases, trade in emerging markets would not occur without trade finance. Next, please. Maureen has spoken about this. Okay, so what is the Afreximbank approach? The Afreximbank approach is to create this digital transformation and help to fix all the issues that we are having through this trade business in Africa. First of all, we have this intra-African trade data tool, which provides all information related data to products, partners, and trade business in Africa. Also, we have a portal where which provide information to understand African markets. Also, we have the de-risking of African counterparts, and also, the objective of eliminating payment risk through the PAPs, the Pan-African and payment and settlement system. Also, the B2B marketplace that Afreximbank is putting in place to facilitate trade within the continent. And also this African logistic networks that Afreximbank has initiated to facilitate trade business in Africa. Next, Stefan. So if following this emerging digital transformation, we have a regulatory portal that provides all the information on regulatory aspect of trade. We have the trade portal that I mentioned previously, and now you have MANSA repository platform, which aim to bring more visibility, more acceptability, sustainability, and governance on trade business in Africa. And the PAPs, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which facilitate the trade transaction by allowing African counterparts to use their local currency to trade in Africa. And also the virtual trade fair that Afreximbank organizes every year, and the next will be held in Durban from 15 to 21st of November, which is a sort of virtual a sort of trade, let's say African trade with buyers, sellers to meet together to exchange about the trade and market information on Africa. Next, Stefan. Okay, so about MANSA repository platform. Next, MANSA comes from the name Mansa Musa, as mentioned by Maureen, and it derives from the first emperor of Mali, who was credited with placing Africa on the world map through his immense wealth and opening of Africa's trade route. Okay, and given the importance of this platform, we gave this the name to this platform. Okay, next, please. Next, Stefan, because we are running out of time. Okay, next. Next. This is just history. So, defining MANSA. MANSA is a centralized repository for sharing and assessing information required to conduct due diligence check on African entities. So MANSA focus on African entities to give more transparency, more visibility to African entities to trade between themselves. Okay, and the repository facilitates availability of know your customer information on African entities in accordance with international standards. And through MANSA also, Afreximbank is seeking to promote good governance practices among African entities and to encourage African trade business to do business properly in Africa, following the international global standard. Next, please. Okay, so MANSA has three key pillars. The CDD customer due diligence, which provide the CDD reports, so the single source of primary data to conduct customer due diligence check, okay, for SMEs, financial institutions, and corporates. But we have also this Investing in Africa tab which provide a one-stop portal to learn about Africa and information on investment climate, economic profiles, key industry, trade product, and service regarding African countries. And the third one is news and event, which provide news and information on events and publication about trade and KYC CDD on Africa. Next, Stefan. So we talk about this objective, but mainly it is to establish and maintain a centralized and single source of primary data for Africa. Reduce also the workload and the cost of compliance that our counterparts in Africa met in the trade business, and also eliminate the subjective evaluation of African entities and mitigate the subjective risk on African entities. Next. This is just the ecosystem. We'll come back on this during the question and answer. Okay, this also you can go on. Next, Stefan. Next. Okay, so the MANSA three players are the contributors, the verifiers, and the subscribers. The contributors are African financial institutions like SMEs and corporates who voluntarily register and contribute their information on the MANSA repository platform. Okay, the verifiers are entities who independently conduct verification of the customer due diligence information uploaded by the contributors, and these include regulators, recognized law and audit firms, credit bureaus, and registries. And the subscribers are any individual or corporate customer who subscribe to have access to primary data for the purpose of conducting KYC and customer due diligence check. So that's why during this webinar, we invited contributor, verifier, subscriber to discuss about MANSA and to see and to share their experience using this platform. Stefan, next. Next. Okay, so just to come back in the previous, please. Okay, just to explain the process flow for MANSA. So the contributors contribute to the platform. So they fill their information. Those information are going through a maker-checker role that the administrator handles. And from that point now, the information contributed is sent to the verifier. The verifier, after checking that everything is okay, approve the information filled and then send to Afreximbank to publish onto the platform. And now the subscriber can get access to those information to conduct their customer due diligence check. Next, Stefan. Next, Stefan. Okay, just 1 second here to say that our report, the customer due diligence check generated from the platform, has 6 classes of information: identifications, ownership and management, the business type, the compliance, financial, and other information. So all these informations are being published through the CDD tab that I presented previously, and all the subscribers can get access to this report and have full information on the counterpart that they are looking for. Next, Stefan. Okay, next, again, next, next, next. I think we can skip this. Next, please, because we have to speak about this. Next. Okay, MANSA engagement and collaboration. Next. So we have worked with several global organizations to, create sensitizations, create awareness, and educate our people to acquire more profiles to onboard onto MANSA platform. And among those umbrella organizations, we have worked with the Federation of African Chamber of Commerce, the Federation of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise in Uganda, the Business Councils, Investment Authorities, and African Stock Exchange in Africa. Next, please. Private Sector Alliance, Entrepreneur Association, Association of Insurers, National Agencies of SMEs, all these umbrella organizations we have engaged are working with us to populate the platform and bring more profiles onto the platform. Next, Stefan. Okay, next. Next. Next, Stefan. Okay, We have also put in place a strategic partnership with a global organization like Bankers Association of all African countries, the Association of African Central Banks, the African Union, the AFTA Secretary, the private sector like Tony Elumelu Foundation, Mo Ibrahim, Econet Global, EcoBank Transnational, and African government also with K ministries and their parasital example given, ministries of trade and investment in Egypt, and communication, health, and foreign office. So all these bodies have worked with, we have worked with all these bodies to, populate the platform, but also create awareness, sensitize African people, and educate all African people to make sure that MANSA is well understood and well included in their, business relationship. Next, Stefan. Okay, so these are the key regulatory partners we are working with, mainly the central banks. So you see here all the central banks that have already signed the verifier agreement with MANSA. Next, please. And also,
this is not all of them. This is not all of them.
Yes. Yes, the one that we have already signed the verifier agreement, and also the agent that we have recruited, like Rosland, Borderless Trade Network, NMB Capital, extra. So these are the agents MANSA is working with to populate the platform and bring more profile onto the platform. Next, Stefan. Okay, so adoption of MANSA by global organization. We are working also on this subject to make sure that MANSA is adopted by global organization that I mentioned previously, the Association of African Central Bank, the African stock exchanges like Nigeria stock exchanges, Egyptian stock exchanges, African Union, Smart Africa, the AFTA Secretary, the World Bank. Next, Stefan. So all these organizations we are working with to make sure that they adopt MANSA and maybe use it as a precondition for their membership or their rules. MANSA Global Certification also, we are working to make sure that MANSA get the global certification, like for example, the Financial Action Task Force, the Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation, the JABA, the JABAC in Central Africa, and the ESAMLAC also in Eastern and Southern Africa, and also ISO, International Organization for Standardization. So we are working to certify MANSA and to make sure that today it is global and internationally recognized. MANSA into African language also is important for us because we realize that, and we know that many inhabitants in Africa use local language. So we need to also bring MANSA into those language like Swahili. Next, please, Stefan. Swahili and Hausa. Okay, these are the target language. Next, Stefan. The MANSA key strategic action. Next. Okay, so as I stated before, we did the operational launch on November 30th last year. Currently, we are mobilizing profiles onto the platforms, and we are also doing sensitization, creating awareness, educating African people to onboard on MANSA and accordingly obtain their African entity identifier, which is really important, which is their identity on MANSA, and which means that they have verified on MANSA and they can use also the Pan-African and payment and settlement system to do their trade transaction. So these are the strategic action that we are conducting. Next, please. And also all this promotion of agency business with the agent that we have already recruited, also to make sure that we adopted strategies to bring more subscribers onto the platform through our marketing and communication strategy with the materials on MANSA that we are developing. Okay, who are our targeted entities? So our targeted entities are as presented here, the Association of African Central Bank with all members of National Bankers Association. And we believe that also the central banks can be their verifiers. Okay, the National Regional Stock Exchange also, as mentioned before, with all national and regional stock exchanges, the National African Federation of Chambers of Commerce, credit bureaus, National Association of Businessmen and Businesswomen, national bodies supporting SMEs development, etc., etc. And also law firm, MANSA guarantee firms, export promoting agencies, all these entities are working with MANSA to bring profiles on the platform, but also playing roles either on the contributor part or the verification part. Okay, you can skip it and go directly to the statistics. Okay. Okay, maybe here, Stefan, just 1 second to say that, okay, we are also working on MANSA's second phase, where we bring managed services to allow to our customer to do enhanced due diligence on customer on a service basis with a comprehensive AML business check and complete sanction screening that we will bring during this second phase. So we are currently working on this. And this type of service will bring more value on MANSA services, and we will be very pleased to propose this type of services to our customers in the next coming months. Next, please, Stefan. So just to share with you a few MANSA statistics. So currently, we are doing, as I mentioned previously, we are doing webinars, creating awareness, sensitizing our people, and this graph shows the trend that we are seriously increasing those webinars to make sure that MANSA is in our culture in Africa. MANSA is adopted by African people. This is what this graph shows. Next, please. Okay, currently in the platform we have 1,058 because yesterday this statistic was captured yesterday, but today in the morning when I got into the platform, we increased the numbers because the population is in progress, and we got today 1,058 contributor entities with the split, that the breakdown that you see in terms of financial institution, corporate, and SMEs. Next, please, Stefan. Okay, so this is the distribution of African the contributors in the continent. So if you see that we are trying to map all the continent and make sure that we get contributor, subscriber, and verifier in the whole African country. Okay. Yes, this is just the published profile on MANSA per month to show that we are progressing, really progressing, with the number of financial institutions also growing month by month. Okay, the number of next please, the number of corporates also increasing month by month. Okay, SMEs the same. So we are really growing, we are really populating the platform, and we hope that by the end of this year we will get the target that we are aiming to reach. Okay, next please, Stefan. Next, this is just the published profile per region. So we see that in every region in Africa we are progressing, we are making we are putting more profile on the platform from those regions, and we hope as I mentioned previously, to cover the whole continent and progress in all regions in Africa. Next, Stefan. Okay, so thank you for listening. I'm sorry, maybe the time was really short to do to speak about all what we wanted to speak, but we are available to respond to all your queries. And again, thank you for your attention. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Pap, for the very detailed presentation on the MANSA repository platform. I want to thank you. I also thank Madam Maureen for the initial good remarks that she gave. Now, we're going to be moving into the panel session to drill down more, to get more information about MANSA. The objective of the panel session really is to provide the experiences of both the contributors and verifiers, perhaps a few subscribers to the platform, because the MANSA platform, like we're told, has been launched since November 2020, and the train is on. And also, I think one of the objectives of this panel is to call the stakeholders to action, and which is that people should get on board, get their profiles on board, especially trade finance stakeholders, traders seeking to trade within the continent and outside the continent. So I'm going to go straight now to introduce the panelists we have today. I'm going to just quickly run through the names. And the way that we're going to run this session, I'm going to ask questions. And if I call your name, you just take 30 seconds to, 1 minute to say more about your organization that you represent and what your organization stands for. Before I do that, let me just do a quick ground rules or some quick ground rules clarification. For the participants, we want you to have a very good experience today. This session is informational, but also a call to action. So please use the Q&A tool to ask your questions. At the end of the panel discussions, we're going to take the questions. We're going to set aside at least 20 minutes to look at your questions and provide some answers and clarifications. And also to say that there's a chat function here. This is also a networking opportunity for stakeholders. So please take advantage of this opportunity to engage, to introduce yourself, let people know what you do and connect, because this is what the MANSA is all about, to connect, to facilitate, and to provide due diligence information on African counterparties. So without a little brief remark, I'm going to go straight now to introduce the panelists. Once again, my name is Roland Oro, the Managing Director of Boston Consulting. We are one of the partners and agents of MANSA since December 2019. So today I'm happy to introduce Ayi Jude, who is the Head of Compliance, the Ghana Commercial Bank. We have today also Chimezie Emewulu, the Group CEO of Simfix. We also have Sagaye Gaye, who is Head Compliance, Trust Bank Limited, Gambia. I have the pleasure to introduce Inya Lawa, is the CEO of Ascent Studio Foundation. We have John Kalisa, who is the CEO of East Africa Business Council. We have Morai Mapundu, she's Compliance Manager, NMB Bank Limited, Zimbabwe. We have Normal Molili, he's the CEO of Business Botswana. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Ahmed Omar, he's a Relationship Manager, Central Bank of Egypt. So we have a cross-section of very important and agencies, institutions, SMEs that have tested the promise of MANSA, and they're going to be sharing their experience this afternoon with all of us. We have both contributors and verifiers. So I'm going to call for a kickoff Morai Mapundu, who is Compliance Manager of NMB Bank, Zimbabwe. She's a contributor, and please you unmute yourself, and then you just respond to this first question, which is as a contributor to the MANSA platform, what do you think are the benefits from a user perspective? We know that Pap and Madam Maureen has mentioned a lot of the theoretical promise benefits and all of that, but from your own user perspective, can you share with us briefly what you think the benefits are for the benefit of our audience today? Thank you. Maura, you have the floor. Unmute yourself and make your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roland, and good afternoon to you all. So from my end, as a contributor representing NMB Bank, to me, MANSA is a platform that is seamless, secure platform that is designated to be used by subscribers for due diligence processes to facilitate cross-border with and between African business. So some of the benefits that we have found is from the onset, the onboarding itself and the registration is user-friendly. We have, as NMB Bank, we took the initiative to register on the Afreximbank platform as a contributor. And one thing you will like about this is it is a platform that is coming in with in line, that is set up in line with the international FATF recommendations, the Wolfsberg. So these are the benefits that the platform is coming in. It is coming in to bridge the gap that has been in Africa for a long time. It is coming in to bring the digital transformation. It's a platform that is enabling SMEs that are growing, corporates that are growing, to be able to be on the platform where you have your KYC documents uploaded in an easier way. And one thing that I just like is it's incorporating all entities. It is a platform that is enabling the small SMEs. It is allowing even the big corporates within Africa to be on this platform and have your KYC documentation. One of the major things that I have seen through the trade finance, some of the challenges that African countries were facing were issues to do with the KYC, the inadequate KYC. So this platform to me is preparing all corporates and SME entities to have their KYC readily in place, readily available and adequately in place, so that when they are then seeking out a trade finance, there are no bottlenecks that are found. It's because there is information that is adequately in place, readily for disposal. So to me, I'm saying MANSA is a tool, is a welcome initiative to the Africans, as it is coming to remove all those challenges that has been existing for quite some time. And to me, it is an initiative that African SMEs, corporates should embrace and come in to have this platform. Once your KYC is in place, you are saying we are digitizing globally. Digitization is on the increase. So with MANSA, it is coming in to bring that digital transformation, promoting all Africans to be on this platform. You have heard about the African entity identifier, which is very key on this platform. Once you have this identification, it means you are now visible. It's bringing visibility. So many corporates from all over the world can have access as you are sorting out or coming in to seek finance. It is then coming in to lessen those problems that we've been facing. So as a contributor, we have taken the initiative from Harare, Zimbabwe, to be on this platform, and we sought then to ensure that corporates are able to register on this platform, have their documentation in place in such a way that it is then seamless and easier to access finance. So the benefits is including the reducing of information asymmetry, reducing the negative perceptions of the continent and the Africans therein. So we are saying MANSA is there. It is just there. You've heard of the 3 pillars, that it is coming in to provide customer due diligence. It is also in promoting the investing of Africa. It is also coming in with the news and events. So whilst you are all on that platform, it also provides updates on the events, what is current, what is key in Africa, where can we invest? And to me, I say MANSA is a welcome platform that we should all embrace and be on the platform. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Morai, for your intervention. I mean, she made a lot of comments. One that is very, very instructive is she said that the platform is very enabling for SMEs to onboard their information and to kill the negative perception that we currently suffer. How true? I mean, that's very correct. I had a meeting some time ago with the head of international offices of the Dubai Chamber, and he said, look, many years ago, a lot of their members are not interested in many African countries, but now they are very interested. But the issue of negative perception still persists, that we have to kill those perceptions by ourselves. And MANSA, Afreximbank has risen to the occasion, and with this platform, I am very sure that we're going to be seeing positive developments with regards to intra and inter-African trade. I would like to come to you now, Sagwaye Gaye, if you don't mind, who is head of compliance Trust Bank Limited Gambia. Tell us, you are also a contributor. What inspired you or your institution to be part of the MANSA platform? You have 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be among the speakers for this webinar and would like to share my experience as a contributor. Trust Bank is a respondent bank to Afreximbank, and we were exposed to MANSA sometime around November last year. And then I was actually, as a contributor, I had the opportunity to explore and then navigate the platform, and would like to say that having contributed in other similar platforms like MANSA, I find it really so user-friendly because it provides an easy step-by-step guide on how to place your institution's data. Also, the single source nature of the platform and its wide content categories makes it more attractive for correspondent banks and other business partners to basically conduct due diligence searches free of hassle. So as a business entity, especially a financial institution like Trust Bank, we believe that having our KYC information and documents on the MANSA platform could really open doors for potential correspondent relationship as well as other business opportunities, thereby creating opportunity for access to trade finance services for our customers. So as a contributor as well, I really highly rate the support service team of MANSA in terms of follow-up to provide guidance and assistance in ensuring that institutions' KYC information met the standards and requirements that would be considered fit for due diligence purpose. So based on my experience, I would say that access to support service on MANSA is virtually instantaneous. The other reason why MANSA is unique from other repository platforms is that it encompasses so many relevant information that could be useful in terms of assessing credit worthiness of an institution. For example, having your institution credit rating report could provide extra comfort to most correspondent banks that would ordinarily have been reluctant to accept heavy LCs for an African bank because of lack of information to access their credit worthiness. So on a final note, I would like to thank Afreximbank for coming up with such a great initiative like the MANSA, because it could not have come at a better time given the rate of de-risking in the African region and also significant gap in global trade. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Gaye, for those remarks, those comments. Now, I want to move on to Mr. Chimeze Emewulu, who's the Group CEO of Simpix. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. But before I come to you, I just want to say that we are all aware that the Africa itself is the last frontier, and there are a lot of interest from foreign organizations, foreign traders, foreign financial institutions on the continent, and there are estimates that the potential value of consumer items in Africa could rise up to $6 trillion by the United States Trade Department, right? So there are a lot of interest in Africa, and even within the continent, trading within the continent is also a very high priority. So Mr. Emewulu, you are an agent of MANSA. Tell us, do you having the Africa entity identifier code, do you think as a contributor, will you have, would that be an opportunity to have access to domestic and international finance? And then beyond that, what are other benefits as a contributor you think inspired you to be on the MANSA platform, both as an agent and as a contributor? You have the floor.
Okay, thank you so very much for that very interesting question, Mr. Roland. So my organization, Simpix, earlier this year, we decided to expand from Africa and set up office in Europe. So we decided to set up in the UK. And I came to the UK to try to set up. And in the process, it took me 3 months, 3 good months, to be able to open a bank account in the UK. I met with so many banks, over 10 different banks, and they all kept rejecting me. A bank like HSBC, for example, turned me down twice. The third time I had to write a protest letter, which they never responded to. And why were they doing that? You know, they start opening accounts and it gets to a point, computer just says, no, you can't proceed because they are not able to verify the details, the KYC details of this entity called Simpix. And there was no, as far as they are concerned, there's really no place that they are aware of that they will go to check my KYC details to verify most of the information I've supplied to them. So their computer says no, and they just stop there. It took me time to be able to get one bank that was able to now do the due diligence, the normal process, manual, check everything, before they can now finally open a bank account for me. So I was frustrated. I reached out to MANSA. I reached out actually to Afreximbank because I was frustrated to the point that Simpix is a software company that can build a platform like this and can solve this problem. And we've been involved in KYC over the years. So we reached out to them because for them, fundamentally, we believe that everybody deserves equal access to opportunities. And fundamentally, we also believe that identity is a right, it's not a privilege. You shouldn't be discriminated against on the basis of your identity, either individual or corporate identity. So when I got to engage them, I learned about the MANSA and I learned about the huge progress they've already made in trying to solve the problem that I was coming to complain about. And I decided to collaborate. I decided that this is the best thing to do to ensure that this platform scales and receives the global adoption it ought to have, so that other people and other persons like me would not have that frustration. And in the process of getting this set up, you also, once you sign up as a contributor, you get an Africa entity identifier, which is a unique identifier for your entity. In the future, I believe MANSA is going to introduce not just the entity identifier for corporates, but also an entity identifier for individuals, so that as an African, you'll be able to easily do transactions, not just the corporate entities, but even the individuals. You'll be able to do transactions and you'll be able to send monies to and from. And this entity identifier, AEI, African Entity Identifier, is extremely important for tracking the movement of funds and tracking the movement of transactions generally. So that we are also, while we are developing and enabling and opening Africa up to the world, we are also paying serious attention to how money moves and making sure that things are done to protect against money laundering. So the AEI is extremely important. Everybody that sets up on the platform will typically get it. And with that, you cannot be able to, on the PAPS, that's Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which is a switch of switches, more like perhaps is enabling all African countries to be able to manage transactions and get them settled in an instant. So with that, you'll be able to easily initiate transactions on that platform. And then of course, with it, your company can easily be called up at any point in time. So this is why I came on board. This is why I'm so passionate about ensuring that MANSA adoption is global. It's not just for it to be adopted in Africa, it has to be adopted globally. So there you have it, Roland. That's why I'm participating, and that's why I believe the AEI is extremely important. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Chineze, for those very important and interesting points. And now I can see why people like Madam Maureen Mba and the whole team of MANSA, they are so passionate about driving this platform, promoting it across the continent, because of the value it's going to add to African businesses. I mean, your experience is very, very instructive. And I want to use the opportunity to call to action all traders, African traders that are on this webinar, to please get on board the platform, provide your profile so that you can be on board, and then you can have your Africa entity identifier, which enables you to trade not just within the continent, but across the world. All right, so let's move now. Thank you again, Mr. Chineze, for those very important points. Let's move on let's go to East Africa. Many of us know that East Africa has a lot of promise in terms of growth in economies in countries like Kenya, Rwanda, and other countries within that region, that sub-region. I'm going to call on Mr. John Kalisa, who is the CEO of East African Business Council, to tell us specifically what you think. Do you see the MANSA platform playing a critical role in the African continental free trade area? What are your perspectives? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roland. And first of all, I would like to thank and appreciate Maureen and Afreximbank and the team from MANSA platform. Generally, today we had an exciting session where we launched MANSA in Kenya, Nairobi, this afternoon. So it is really exciting to see that the issue that has been constraining or hindering our regional and continental development is being addressed. So where we see from the ESC perspective, the MANSA is a game changer. It is a savior for this continent. Maybe to put it in the context and perspective, ESC is the fastest growing region in terms of economic growth. Generally, before COVID, the three fastest growing economies in the world came from the East African community. That's Tanzania, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. That presented enormous opportunities because even now, I was looking at the statistics yesterday. I was in the meeting in Kigali. The Rwanda government is projecting a double-digit growth after the devastating impact of COVID. Even other regions are attaining 4 to 5% growth. That demonstrates a high level of resilience, a high level of support mechanism, especially for trade and investment. So when you also look at the pace and the speed of ratification, out of 6 ESC partner states, 5 have ratified the agreement. That demonstrates political goodwill, commitment that the CFTA is a game changer. So MANSA comes at the right time to boost and fuel African continental free trade area. Let me say that we are very excited. We've launched it in 2 partner states. Next week we'll be launching it in Rwanda. So far we launched it in Uganda. The private sector is very excited, and a number of partners, business community have already onboarded into MANSA platform. Even in Kenya, this afternoon, this morning and afternoon, we see a lot of engagement, a lot of enthusiasm in terms of onboarding MANSA. So it's a game changer on our side. It is a viable platform in terms of addressing issues related to information asymmetry, issues related to know your client, know your customer. And it is important too for SMEs, given that our region, SMEs account for 80% of our businesses. So we see it as a game changer. We see it as a savior to grow our intra-regional trade. So having said that, again, I'm working closely with Maureen in terms of doing a lot of sensitization and awareness, and even from the statistics you presented, you can see that corporates, we have almost 700 corporates, but we have around 190 SMEs. And in actual sense, we should have more SMEs than corporates. So there is a lot of work need to be done in terms of sensitization, raising awareness about this important tool, platform, MANSA platform. So that's what I can say. Maybe to add to that, previously, before even I joined the EABC, I was working with Trademark, and we worked on a survey with the FSD. We looked at the sectors in our region that would drive the growth, where the region has both comparative and competitive advantage. We looked at the three sectors: construction, textile and garments. We also looked at agriculture or agribusiness. Those are sectors that are very viable. We also looked a bit on leather and leather-related products. But when you look at both the investors, one of the issues they raised was the high cost of finance. But not only high cost, but even finding the trade finance was a challenge. So knowing where the trade finance has been one of the challenge, despite the high cost of the access to finance, despite the stringent measure to access trade finance, but even knowing where trade finance is still a challenge in the region. So I'm happy that through the MANSA, you are addressing those information asymmetry between the lenders and borrowers. It will create a kind of convergence in terms of information, so that you have a trust and confidence among the suppliers, as well as traders, as well as the bankers themselves, to know that we are dealing with trusted clients. So I think that is on our side. It's an important platform, and we grabbed it as a big opportunity in the EAC. I hand over, Roland, and thanks for giving me this opportunity.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. John Kalisa. You made a very important point now that a lot of work needs to be done to increase the number of SMEs on the platform. The current number is not encouraging enough. We know that SMEs drive enterprises in Africa. There are over 20 million registered enterprises in Africa. So we have a lot of work to do. I agree with you very strongly, and I think the MANSA team also agrees with you. We all need to work together to onboard more SMEs and corporates onto the platform. Now, I'm going to come to you, Mr. Iya Lawal, CEO of Ascent Studio Foundation. But before I do that, I want to respectfully call on Dr. Nagla Nozahi of the Central Bank of Egypt. Dr. Naglahi, she's from the Central Bank of Egypt. Egypt is the physical host of the MANSA platform. Even though it's a virtual facility, but Egypt is where the Afreximbank is physically located. So we want to especially recognize our Egyptian partners today. So you have the floor, Dr. Nagla. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roland, and thank you for your invitation. As a matter of fact, Central Bank of Egypt really believe the importance of MANSA. And as a result of that, we, Central Bank of Egypt, have signed 2 MOU with Afreximbank for MANSA to be the verifiers for the banks, and the other one with the Banking Institute to host the training for MANSA from African country. And before pandemic, we pleased to get the honor to train more than 121 from our brother, African brother, and representing more than 22 countries. The main object of this to let all countries know about how to upload their data and how to benefit or maximize the benefit from the MANSA platform. Other things, as an important thing, MANSA is very important for trade, for transparency in Africa. And as you know well, that only 29 countries out of 55 countries have a sovereign rating. This state makes a little problem that you are looking for a transparency. You want to be sure about the credibility of the other side, and I think MANSA solves this problem. As MANSA, as due diligence, aim to check the valuation of assets and liabilities, assess the risk within business, and identify areas of further investigation. So according to the aim of due diligence, really MANSA presents this, because if you saw when you are as a central bank or as verifiers, when you began to check the information that banks given to you, the main thing is that you are checked or you said this information is correct. It's information about identification, ownership and management, compliance information, financial information, and other information. So the banks know each other, know who is dealing with whom, what is the size, what is his budget for the last 3 years. So these things helps a lot to enhance trade, because the most important thing to know, to have a clear and complete data and credible data. And I think central banks being verifier for that, I think this is a big deal for African banks. So this means you are really, you have the credibility that all the central banks, and central banks means something, it's not something easy. Central banks is a big entity to approve your information. So this is give you the credibility of what you want, enhance trade, cover the gap of information that all the African countries suffering from. This is, I think, MANSA, it will be a good, it's not only for banks, it's also an investment hub, because there is a site for MANSA that you can go to the country and know everything about the country, about what is the opportunity of investment. So a lot of information you can gather in one platform. This is a good, really a good opportunity for Africa. And it's not only for Africa, so the other entity, foreign entity from other continent can see, easily access the African countries. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nagla, for those very important information from the Central Bank of Egypt. Now, in the interest of time, we'll begin to wrap up this segment, which is the contributions from the panelists. I will just take the contribution from Iya Lawal. Iya Lawal, good to have you. Tell us where you're speaking from. I can see you're smiling, Rajiv, excited about the MANSA platform. Tell us how the platform is impacting your country and the SMEs there. And most importantly, how would you rate MANSA being a centralized platform for the African entities to provide single primary source of data on all African entities? You have 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roland. Thank you, Madam Maureen and Pap, for inviting me. My name is Iya Lawal. I'm from Nigeria. So I'm calling in from Nigeria. And I'm the president of Ascent Studios Foundation. It's very important that I say what we do, because in essence, the benefits of MANSA sticks with what we do exactly. We're a global movement, and we have a mandate to provide capacity building, mentorship, and economic empowerment for women. So the focus is women and youth. And so we have several programs. We do business training, and we help entrepreneurs unlearn and relearn the best practices to help them scale their businesses. Now, this is where MANSA comes in for us. And it's very important to say this, because at this point, all of our programs, we make sure at the end of the program, any program we have our MANSA onboarding for participants. That is how important the platform is to everyone who is within business. So once we're done with our training, as we know, SMEs is what we deal with. As we know, they need access to funding, they need to be secure within their businesses. They also need access to market, and most especially ease of payment. And all of that you can find within the MANSA platform, and more. There's all sorts of information that you can find there. The next step for us after our program is MANSA. That is how important it has become for us. So it's information packed. We find it very well set up as well. Information packed, giving us the next necessary details that are needed to do business within and outside Africa. Of course, everyone would need that as long as you're doing business. I agree with what Moira said earlier, and we've experienced the same benefits. I'm not going to go back into it because of time. I also echo everything Chimeze said with his testimony on ease of business with the MANSA's AEI, and I think it is the same testimony you would hear from a lot of our members and a lot of people within our community in that sense. So I would say ease of business, if any, I believe that all parties should come together and populate the platform, because we need each other in that sense. Whether we're doing business within Africa or we're doing it on a global scale, we need each other. And I know for a fact that it's been testimonies all the way in terms of benefits for my community of women. And trust me, there are a lot of them. So a lot of people saying, this is good, this is what we need. It's helping us open our eyes, even to the kind of documents that people need to do business, because we find that with a lot of businesses, structure is missing. What MANSA, the platform, gives you is information that prepares you for the structure you need to be able to do business globally. So I believe in the platform. We're with MANSA, all the way. I sing MANSA everywhere I go. And even like I said on my programs, once you're done with the program for the duration, MANSA is the next step. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Iya, for those very important points. So because of time, ladies and gentlemen, participants today, we're going to move on to the Q&A session. And I would like to call on the panelists to be on standby to answer some of the questions that have been asked by the participants today. We have the first question from
Molele. You did not call Molele.
Molele, yes. Okay.
BB Botswana. BB Botswana.
I have to call him because Botswana is one of the pride of Africa in terms of economic growth and development. We're proud of Botswana. So, Molele, please, if you don't mind, you have just a minute. Tell us your experience with MANSA, You are a contributor. You are also a verifier. Please tell us. You have 1 minute. Just tell us. Norma Molele, the CEO of Business Botswana. You are a contributor. You have 1 minute. Do we have Molele on the panel? Okay, while we wait for him to come on board, we'll take the questions again. There's a question, why is South Africa not part of the contributor/verifier status, yet a signatory to the AFCFTA? Hughes, you want to take that question? Please go ahead. Can we have Hughes take that question? We have a question here. How long does it take for MANSA to verify credentials? Pap, you want to take that question? I'll just zoom through the questions, and maybe we'll have any of the panelists take up the ones that they feel comfortable to handle. There's a question here, how long does it take for MANSA to verify credentials? We have a question here, regulatory-wise, how do you verify the information provided on a voluntary basis, especially financial information? Do you need to show proof of legitimate interest to assess non-published information? Yeah. There's a question here. Can you please elaborate more on the subscriber side? How many international subscriber banks does MANSA have? I think this question will be answered by the MANSA team, Madam Maureen or Mr. Pap. We have a question here. NMB Bank Zimbabwe is also Glyph first validation agent in Africa and equip its SME clients with legal entity identifier. Legal entity identifiers are the global version of the African entity identifiers. Will it be useful for MANSA to have more financial institutions who are validation agents and provide legal entity identifiers of their clients as part of the KYC profile they contribute to the MANSA registry? We have a question here from Nasiru Abdullah. What is the link between MANSA and PAP and PAPSS? Will Afreximbank be able to issue ATM cards to ease financial transactions across the continent without any links to Visa and MasterCard? Very good question. From Michael Ogu, we have a long one. How many countries today, many developing countries, they have unique identifiers for credit access, while others are doing such under a regional line. How can we limit the duplication of the identifiers across the African trade space so that we have one identifier which may incorporate other countries and regional identifiers? All right. So these are some of the questions. There's also a question of how to contact the MANSA team. So I would like to give the floor to Pap. If you are on the session, please, can you respond to some of the questions that have been raised that borders on the platform? For instance, how long does it take for MANSA to verify credentials? We want to start with that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Roland. Thank you for this interesting question. In fact, MANSA is a real-time. Let me put my video. Okay. MANSA is a real-time platform. So we have three level of verification. First of all, the entity contributing has to put in place, a maker and checker role to make sure that, okay, the information filled are authentic, credible, and verified internally, first of all, okay? Second, the second level of verification is the verifier, the regulatory verification, which is, for example, a central bank for a financial institution or chamber of commerce for corporates and SMEs. So the second level of verification will go to the verifier, which will verify that the information are accurate, authentic, and credible before now sending the information to a notification to Afreximbank, which will also do the last step of verification and publish onto the platform. So how long it will take? Internally, it will depend on the entity, okay, on their organization. The second step will depend also on the verifier. For example, if the contributor is a financial institution and finish to contribute and send it to the central bank, it depends on how the central bank is organized to do the verification. But what I can say is when it comes to Afreximbank, it will be a notification and we will immediately do the verification, whatever the time is, whenever the time is, during the night, during the weekends, whenever we can do the verification and publish the profile, okay?
And just to add on to what Pap has said, once you sign the contributor agreement, because as a contributor, we have the contributor agreement. Once you sign it, you identify, you nominate immediately your administrator. That administrator will be the one responsible to onboard your information on the platform, because there are processes on the platform. There are manuals how to onboard. So it's not just a platform you just go in and start putting registration and do. No, there are queries you have to answer. We are doing this to ensure that the platform is well protected and from hackers, although we are not, where they have quite highly sophisticated means of doing that. But what we have done is to ensure that our contributors nominate their administrators who will be responsible. So when it goes through the maker checker of your organization, that is the identified administrators, it now goes to the regulator or the body. We have the EABC, which is the East African Business Council, that the chief executive have just told you the success launch we had today. They verify the SMEs or the entities in their jurisdiction. The central banks, the African central banks, and like Pap highly hinted you, we have been actually endorsed by the Association of African Central Banks as Africa's hub for due diligence matters. When it gets to Afreximbank, what we do, you may call it quality checks. We now go through the information that has been verified by the entities, because on that same platform, you get to a point where you are where you're doing the processes, it tells you who is your verifier. There's a drop-down menu of all the verifiers, and then you click on the verifier. We can walk you through the platform so that you can see the process, but it may not be the same today because we have a time limit here. So once you do that, we do the quality checks before we publish. And if during the quality checks, we are not comfortable with the information, we return it to the verifier. The verifier, even during the verification, may also find out that there are gaps, and they will return it back. It's a web-based platform. All these things can be done in a twinkle of minutes. But it depends on the entity who is onboarding its information on the platform. So just to add on to that, on the issue of the relationship between PAPS and MANSA, MANSA is actually the foundation trade gateway. Because why am I saying this? I think we have dwelt on it. Before you do anything, KYC is key. If you don't have, I'm happy Chimezie has told us his experience in the UK. So before you do anything, you must have your information ready. So for us as MANSA, we always go that extra mile to make sure that we do that. PAPS is another body, another initiative of the African Export-Import Bank. For you to be actually benefit from PAPS, that is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, you must be MANSA verified. You must have your AEI code, because it eliminates that risk. It eliminates the rigors of going to do KYC checks on the entity. Once you get PAPS, and PAPS, after you're going through your transaction, PAPS asks you the question, are you MANSA verified? And you say yes. Then produce your AEI code. You produce your AEI code. You are free to go. You are good to go, because it will be a quick win opportunity for your transaction to scale through. Now, talking about the GLEF, the Global Entity Legal Identifier Foundation, they approached us. They told us they want to work with MANSA. We started this journey. I'm happy. Making finance work for Africa is one of the engines that have brought us together. GES actually came to us, and their representatives from the Global Entity Legal Identifier came to us, MANSA, and said, we want to work with you. We want to partner with you so that we can penetrate the African continent. We don't have presence in Africa. We have only in 2 countries, and these are Nigeria and South Africa. As we speak, we've been actually negotiating with them. We've also been putting agreements in place. We are almost finalizing that agreement. They want us to be the issuer, but again, we have actually been discussing with them, how can we harmonize the 2 unique identifiers so that globally it will be accepted, whether it is MANSA, AEI, or GLEF, LEI, it will be globally adopted and accepted in any transaction. So if you have either, we as MANSA, we've already put LEI before GLEF came to us. We've already put LEI as one of the, although it's not mandatory, that AEI is automatically given once you start putting your information on the profile. So we are in that discussion of making sure that both of us as institutions harmonize that relationship by GLEF. We also had a meeting with STD, which is the Sustainable Development Body, and Financial Stability Board, sorry. Financial Stability Board, which is an arm of the World Bank. We also talked to them to see how we can harmonize this to our platform. The discussions is still on, but our relationship with GLEF, we have actually advanced that relationship of being an issuer. There was only one sticky point there. They want to use the Switzerland law, not the English law. So that has been the sticky point, which we've been trying to see how we can sort it out. So we are actually not competing with anybody. We are Africa-focused, Afrocentric. Our platform is built by Africans for Africans, and we are looking at eliminating that global risk perception of doing business in Africa. We want to say to the world that Africa is the place to go, and MANSA is the go-to platform for sourcing credible and authentic information about African entities. When you talk about financials, when we were developing this platform, we made sure that we did a global search. We looked at the 40 recommendations by FATF, which is an intergovernmental body. We looked at the BAL principles. We looked at the Woolworths Group's principles, and so on and so forth. Then we came to our own continent, which is Africa. Why are we having challenges of not meeting these global demands? And we consolidated our findings and then came out with the templates. We have separate templates for the SMEs, for the corporate entities, and for the financial institutions. Our objective is to bring every African entity onto this work stream. Our objective is to give every African entity that face, that visibility. And our objective is to make sure we train, we build that capacity. We start promoting, institutionalizing our one-man businesses and family businesses, to making them into the big conglomerates. The Mercedes of this world were a one-man business. Today, they are everywhere. They are a big conglomerate. So this is the type of institution we want to build in Africa. These are the type of institution we want to see in Africa. We want to see our continent industrialized. We want to see our continent taking its proper position among the Committee of Nations. We want to see our SMEs growing, creating jobs, adding value to their produce, making sure they diversify, and that will attract a lot of international or non-African investors and partners to our business. We want to make sure our entities, our SMEs, start accessing financing, whether at domestic level or international level. So these are the works that MANSA is here to do. MANSA is the answer to all these challenges. KYC, CD challenges we have in Africa. MANSA is addressing all of them, because we want to see Africa as the country. You will agree with me, somewhere in 1997, 98, the economists came up and said, there's no hope for Africa. In 2008, 2009, the same economists came out to say, Africa is emerging. So it's our destiny. Nobody will do it for us. So we want to work together to ensure that the MANSA repository platform, I'm happy you're hearing from the different individuals, different entities, how we are working towards making sure that we get our continent to be great again. Thank you very much. I don't know if there's any other question that I've left out.
How to contact the MANSA team. I put it in the chat box with the email address and the WhatsApp, okay?
I bet you there are many benefits. There are many benefits accrued to the MANSA platform.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, the passion is unmistakable. The product is good. The vision is very clear, and the delivery is good. So thank you so much, MANSA team, for that. The contact details of the team is on the chat function. We're going to begin to round up now because of time. Just, Hughes, if you don't mind, just for 1 minute, let me take somebody who's representing from the country that I think is very strategic and important for the Africa Free Trade Agreement, which is Mr. I.E. Jude. He's head of compliance from Ghana Commercial Bank. Ghana is the headquarters of AFTA Secretariat. And in all of these conversations about AFTA, about MANSA, about trading within the continent under the free trade area, Ghana plays a very strategic role. So Jude, apologies, I didn't know you on panel early enough. So you have the floor. Please take 1 minute. Tell us what's your institution's experience about the MANSA platform from a West African perspective. Thank you. Do we have Jude? Jude Ayi? Okay, we'll move on. I think all the questions may have been answered. There are some questions in the chat function. I'm sure Pap is looking at those questions. Does any panelist feel strongly that maybe he or she wants to respond to any very pressing question that came up before we begin to round up the session now? Any panelists? The panelists, you have the floor. Just raise up your hands and I'll call you and you can respond to any of the questions. You can check the Q&A function, the question and answer function to respond. Any pressing question? All right, in the absence of none, we'll move on to wrap up the session with these very few remarks, concluding remarks. We have all seen that the MANSA platform, as envisioned by Afreximbank some years ago, has become a reality following the launch in November 2020. And the infrastructure is in place, the system is in place. But as was alluded by, I think, John Kalisa, a lot of work needs to be done to increase the number of profiles on the platform from the current level of barely 1,000 to what numbers it ought to be. So I want to call on the stakeholders, the participants, and the institutions. We all have work to do. Also, like Iya Lawa said, we all have to do this together. We have to put our hands together to make this a pride for Africa. I'm very instructed by the experience, the testimony of Chimeze Emeolu in London, how it was turned down by several banks. And that is exactly what the MANSA platform is out to resolve. So I want to call on SMEs, corporate institutions, financial institutions to get on board the platform. It's our product, it's our facility. We have to make it work for the benefit of ourselves and our children unborn. So with that, I want to hand over to Hughes. Thank you so much. I want to thank the panelists for this session, for your contributions. Thank you so much, Madam Maureen and Pap, for your presentations. And with that, I say thank you and hand over to Mr. Hughes of the Making Finance Work for Africa. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Laura. It has been a very informative and enlightening session. First of all, I would like really to express our request the apology of the audience, really, that we have exceeded the time that was allocated for it. But, you know, I mean, it's so really interesting. So MANSA is so transformative that it's quite difficult really to do justice to the topic within the time that we have set for this session. So we really want to take advantage of the presence of so many speakers or panelists and the MANSA teams really to convey the main messages to African financial sector stakeholder. And we are very delighted that you responded to our call, to our invitations. I cannot say more. I mean, if you heard about Maureen speaking so eloquently and passionately about the product and the perspective of it, Roland, you have done a great job in moderating these sessions. You have been wonderful. The panelists that really comes in and really bring their own perspective, we are very grateful for that. Maybe before I conclude, say a final word, I would just want to express again our gratitude to Afreximbank for this collaboration. It's one of the partners of Making Finance, and we have been working together over the past 2 years, promoting some of their developmental initiative. MANSA is one of them, but we also have the PAPS, Pan-African Payments and Settlement System that we are promoting, the factoring initiative, a number of initiatives along the trade finance, around the trade finance space. And Afreximbank really joined other partners of Making Finance. We've already named the African Development Bank, but we also have the European Investment Bank. We have the Agence Française de Développement. We have the German corporations. These are the partners of Making Finance, the ones that are really making things happen possible with their generous support to our work. We welcome more partners, particularly from the African stakeholder that can come along also, that we really make the changes that is required in the African financial sector. I would like to thank you again, all of you, for your time and your availability to follow the Making Finance Work for Africa webinar series. We certainly continue with Afreximbank and the MANSA team really to see how we can really bring these products near to you. And as we said, that promoting compliance practices and systems in Africa, strengthening compliance practice and systems in the continent is one of our objectives, and it will drive our work for the next coming months and years. On that, I will say thank you very much. When you will shut down the platform, or turn off the platform, you will see that a questionnaire will pop up. It's a really an automatic questionnaire, so you please fill in this questionnaire, because we really value your feedback. That will really help to improve our experience with you. Thanks again, and again, our apology for exceeding the time. Have a good day. Bye-bye to you all. Bye. Good day. Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much, Hugh. And we look forward to doing